Hello, hello. Hey there, hey there. Welcome into another edition of Between the Lines. I'm Josh Ellis, editor-in-chief of Success Magazine, where we're going in the pages of that magazine, specifically this time, the September-October issue, and joined again by old friend Jamie Friedlander Serrano, who has an awesome feature in this issue on Eric Siu, marketing expert. Eric Siu's Main Quest is the headline. Jamie, I enjoyed this one. He's a really sharp guy.
He is. He definitely is. He's a very unique person. It was fun talking to him.
Fun headline, Eric Siu's Main Quest, because he is someone who says that he treats video games, he treats life and business like a video game. Explain that concept for us, would you?
Yeah. So he was, for background, a big gamer before he got into marketing. He played in competitions and he was really into video games. And he kind of sees his life and business as a video game, which is often called life gamification. And kind of it removes that emotional attachment. So he kind of sees everything he does as a step up or a level up in a video game. So it's almost like he can separate from it, which helps him kind of simplify and make progress towards things.
Now, one of the reasons that I liked you as the writer for this story is because several years ago now, you wrote a story for us based on playing for a couple of weeks, The Sims 4, which, if anybody's familiar with The Sims, it's basically like a video game version of a dollhouse where you have your little person who you take through their life and their career and their family and their hobbies. You can create habits for them that make them better or make them worse. And that was a story that you wrote of, like, sort of trying out what it would be like if you had sort of a 35,000 foot view on your own life and could make yourself do these positive habits without all the pain that they cause. And it was just like your video game character going through it. Was some of that stuff ringing in your memory as you talked to him?
For sure. Yeah. I think one of the things he said was because he kind of sees his life as a video game, he doesn't have high highs or low lows because it kind of allows you to take risks without attaching too much emotion to it. And I definitely think that's true because I remember in the game, I would kind of try things out that I would do in my real life, but I'm very risk averse. So it was a lot easier to do it in the video game because there's actually like no stakes. So yeah, it was kind of interesting seeing the parallel.
It's almost like the foundational philosophy here is stoicism. No high highs, no low lows. Like, just do what you think is the best option, but a very modern take on it. So an interesting story. He is a content marketer. This kind of crept up on me. I'm not a marketing person by trade, but this crept up on me over the last few years that content creation and marketing these days are like one and the same. And he definitely exemplifies that.
Yeah, for sure. I think I actually do a lot of content marketing writing in addition to journalism. So it was kind of interesting to hear a lot of the things he was saying. Because like he started his company through blogging, which you couldn't really do now because it's so saturated. But 10 years ago, he was kind of the first one to write these like long form 2,000, 3,000 word blog posts. And it provided value to people. And that's kind of like how he grew his business because there was a reason for them to stay on his website.
From your perspective, being on both sides of content marketing and journalism, what is the difference? Is there a thin line, or is it a big divide?
I think it's a thin line in some ways. Most of the content marketing I do is for hospitals. And so, for example, I'll write for their magazine, like a patient testimonial of someone who had like a cutting edge surgery. And I still find it to be journalism because I'm telling their story, I'm talking to their doctors and them. But what it is it's promoting a service at the hospital, but it allows people to kind of get that human connection instead of just reading a pamphlet that says like, we do this shoulder surgery. So it's still promoting a company or a service, but I think there still is a value to people who read it.
Now, what do you say to the person who, getting started in their business? Maybe they're an independent salesperson or a real estate person, and they're not sure about themselves as a content creator, not sure whether they have anything to say. What do you because these days that is more democratized and expected really of everybody. So how do you break down that fear for people?
Yeah, I think I would say that if they could find their niche, that would help, because people might not think they have anything to say. And I often thought that when I started freelancing too. But I think if you're doing something that's very niche or very specific, there is somebody who wants to hear it, even though like I used to write for a magazine that did pool maintenance, which is like the most random thing, but they had thousands and thousands of readers because there were people who did that for a living. So I think as long as you hone in on what it is that you think makes you stand out, there will be people who want to hear.
I did not know that about your resume.
Yeah.
Are you knowing that will you never have a pool?
Yeah, no.
That's what everybody says. Everybody wants a pool until they have one.
Yeah.
All right, last piece, and I thought this was such a great point. I'm glad you included it. Is the need to cultivate patience in content marketing and life and our careers in general. Why was that so important for Eric that he highlighted it for you?
Yeah, I think so. The way he kind of grew his business was through his blogging and his podcast, which was SEO or search engine optimization. So the more people Googled the things he was writing about, the more his traffic would grow. And so that's not the kind of thing that happens overnight. You don't just get like a million hits and then you have readers that stay forever. It takes months of, creating content and finding customers and clients and an audience. So I think that was kind of why it's important. And I could relate to it too, because since I am a freelancer, it's, I couldn't jump in thinking I'm going to just like have this business where I make all this money and write for all these outlets. It's just, you have to kind of take incremental progress. And I was also thinking, because my husband's a doctor and he's at the end of residency, and we've talked about this because he's in his 11th year, and it's like, it's hard to keep going every year because it's like, you keep going and you keep going. So it's like, you just got to think about that long-term and where you'll be eventually.
Yep. So definitely some great points there and some great points in the story overall. Eric is a fascinating guy, and nobody tells the story as quite like you, Jamie. So we appreciate your work always. Thanks for joining me on Between the Lines today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Everybody else, thank you for joining us once again. We'll do it again next week. So long, everybody.